We're going to be talking about the current stimulus package, including those second stimulus checks. We also have further clarification on the executive orders that were signed yesterday by President Trump. Also, this video pertains to everyone, including those of you receiving Social Security, whether it's retirement, disability, or survivor's benefits, also SSI beneficiaries. But hey everyone, today is Sunday, August 9th, and I'm back with Corey.
Hi.
And so let's get right into the clarification on those executive orders. But first, I just want to say, as we know, Congress is not in session at the moment. So as for the further details on the current stimulus package, there's not a whole lot going on right now. However, these executive orders that were signed yesterday are very important, but we will talk a little bit about some of the stimulus package and those stimulus checks in just a couple minutes. But first, let's talk about executive order number 1, the extension of the federal enhanced unemployment benefits. We've been talking about this, the rate of $600 that we've been seeing in the news and everything we've been talking about. Those expired. However, the executive order that President Trump signed yesterday, he wants to extend those at a rate of $400 per week. However, doing some further digging and reading, we see that apparently unemployment experts are saying that rather than extending those benefits with the executive order, this actually starts up a brand new program that would implement those benefits, and it could take several weeks or even months to actually implement these programs and to actually distribute like these new benefits that are included in that executive order. So, at first glance, it looked really good. Like, oh, great. The extended benefits are going to, continue at $400 a week, and they should start right away. Well, it maybe doesn't look all that simple quite yet. So, interesting stuff, but we'll keep an eye on that. And another question, too, is will this include retroactive pay? Back to when those other benefits expired. We don't know that quite yet. So, interesting stuff. We'll continue to watch that. All right, next we want to talk about the executive order number 2. The yesterday in my video, I talked about it being the extension of the eviction moratorium. It's not quite that. So I have Corey. She's going to read an article for us really quick, and then we'll discuss it here in just a minute.
Okay, so this is from the WashingtonPost.com. Trump also signed an executive order stating that it was U.S. policy to minimize evictions and foreclosures. The order does not reinstate the federal eviction moratorium that expired last month or fund the billions in assistance Democrats have said is necessary to help people already behind on their rent. Instead, the order calls on the Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to consider whether it was necessary to temporarily halt evictions. The Treasury Department and the Department of Housing and Urban Development shall identify federal funds to provide temporary assistance to renters and homeowners who, as a result of the financial hardships caused by COVID-19, are struggling to meet their monthly rental or mortgage obligations, the order says.
Yeah, exactly. So rather than being an extension of the federal eviction moratorium, it's actually a executive order that basically says, hey, we're willing to offer assistance for those tenants and homeowners that weren't able to make rent or their mortgages. We will basically examine these people, see if they need assistance, and then we can offer that. Is that what you're getting out of the article?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're understanding. So it's not that extension of the federal moratorium as we originally thought it was. So this is something different. So we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out, but that's kind of interesting. So if you're someone who hasn't been able to make rent or your mortgage payments, this could probably potentially benefit you. Of course, I don't want to make any promises and say that it will because we don't know your exact situation, but that's an interesting one. All right, let's talk about the next executive order. And this one is a big one. There was a lot of comments yesterday in the videos that I made of people, being really worried about this. And it's the payroll tax cut. And so what happens here with this, the payroll tax cut, is it actually cuts taxes that funds Social Security and Medicare. So that's what everybody was worried about is, hey, if these taxes are being cut and Social Security and Medicare isn't being funded anymore, how are they getting their money, and are we still going to get our monthly benefits? Well, let's look at this tax cut just a little bit further and recognize, what does it actually mean? It's actually not a permanent tax cut, but it's rather a tax deferral. So basically what it's doing is it's deferring those taxes later in the year. So when somebody gets their paycheck today, let's say they earn $100 in a week, let's just say maybe $10 of that goes to taxes or to these payroll taxes. So rather than taking that $10, they'll just defer it out later in the year so that person can get that extra money in their pocket today to hopefully help them through this time right now versus paying those taxes, and having a smaller paycheck. So that's what it does. And so it's interesting. So there was a lot of controversy, a lot of people being really worried that, hey, they're taking money from Social Security and Medicare, we're going to lose our benefits. And I would just say, don't worry about that because this is a tax deferral. They're actually going to be collecting those taxes later on. However, there's a little bit of controversy right now and concern that, hey, in 4 or 6 months from now, when they come back saying, hey, remember that we deferred your taxes, we want all our money now, they might be thinking, well, hey, now we need to pull like a bunch of money out of someone's check. So, that's a little bit concerning too. So anyway, Corey has another article to read.
Yes, so I'm just going to read from the Washington Post again. This is what it says in the article about what happened. Another document signed by Trump on Saturday attempts to defer payroll tax payments from September through December for people who earn less than $100,000. The impact of this measure could depend on whether companies decide to comply, as they could be responsible for withholding large amounts of money from their employees' paychecks in a few months when the taxes are due. So it sounds like maybe the companies would be responsible for that versus the individuals, but it's hard to say, but that's what it says. The president said that if he wins re-election, he would seek to extend the deferral and somehow terminate the taxes that are owed. The payroll tax funds Social Security and Medicare benefits, and it's unclear where those programs will get funding if the taxes are deferred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a good point. And, I know that there's a lot of concern about this, and I get it. When you are receiving benefits from a program and all of a sudden the funding for that program dries up, it's all of a sudden like go into panic mode, like, hey, how long is it going to take for this program to dry up and use up all their funds? But let's just remember, it's a tax deferral. So as how it currently stands, they'll still be collecting those taxes just down the road in a few months is what it sounds like. However, if Trump wants to completely eliminate those taxes, and that's the case, just remember once again, I highly doubt the funding for these programs is just going to dry up and they're just going to let them go to the wayside and die. That's just not how it's going to work. Basically, what the government does is they constantly take money from programs to fund other programs. So there was actually an article that I read that said they wanted to take $50 billion out of FEMA to help pay for the unemployment benefits. So again, another example of how they constantly rob Peter to pay Paul. That's what the government does. They've always done that, and they always will do that. So interesting stuff, and I highly doubt that they're just going to let Social Security and Medicare just completely dry up. So if they did, it would be years and years down the road. So I don't think there's anything to worry about right now. So I feel like during this time, there's so many other things that we need to be concerned about. I feel like just save your energy. Don't worry about that right now. They're not going to leave you hanging. Not right now anyway. It's just not going to happen right now. All right, we want to talk about really quickly. I had a lot of questions yesterday asking, do the executive orders include stimulus checks? Unfortunately, no, they don't. So here's the deal. Congress is still working on that stimulus package right now. And within the stimulus package are those stimulus checks. So we need them to get stuff figured out so that they can push that, around through Congress, get it passed, get it over to the president so he can sign it. And once it's signed, then those second stimulus checks will go into order. But as of right now, they are not approved and they are not in the executive orders. So we're still waiting on Congress. We know that basically it's a bipartisan support from everybody. Everybody agrees that the second round of stimulus checks should be sent out, even the president. So we know that that's, pretty good likelihood that we'll get those, but we don't know when. We're still waiting on Congress. So hopefully we get a lot of movement out of them this week. I'll keep you posted. I'm still watching everything. So have a great Sunday, everybody, and we will be back with some more information. Have a great day. I'll see you later.
Bye.